want to thank everybody for being a part of the panel, and also those the folks that are watching this discussion today. So we started a few months ago with a webinar, monthly webinar, every third Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And our goal at the beginning was to have discussions around relationships in the industry and kind of the differences we see between traditional brand ambassadors and influencers. And that's really where this started. As an industry, we're hearing a lot of manufacturers that are having a challenge with the way social media has impacted their marketing, and then influencers in the last 5 years, how that's impacted marketing. And so that's what these discussions are focused on, is really trying to bring the industry back together, getting everybody on the same page and talking about relationships, which is really the foundation of our industry. That's how everything kind of works, based on relationship. And then how to help manufacturers identify what it means to represent their brand, how to decide what a brand ambassador would do or should do, and have some accountability to that. And then also really trying to structure a program that is focused on relationships and really becomes an extension of the marketing of a manufacturer. So that's where this all started. Today we've got BASF. Sorry, let me silence my phone. We've got BASF. Tina and Tina, I'm going to let you tell what your title is, but I know you manage relationships in the marketing department. We'll start there.
Perfect. Thank you, Trent.
Yeah. We've got Eddie and Michael from Eddie's Rod and Custom. And we were going to have Jesse Greening from Greening Auto. Jesse was told or reminded at the last minute that his son had a soccer banquet. And so Jonathan Goolsby from Goolsby Customs stepped in, and he's been involved with CarBuff, and from day one. Goolsby Customs was the first shop that we ever started talking to, probably 12 years ago, I think. So I'm grateful to Jonathan that he was willing to step in on the panel. And then we've got CB7. It's the committee or a group of advisors for CarBuff Network. And I'll just really quickly go through who that is. We've got Brent Hughes. Brent owns full-size Jeep parts, BJ's full-size Jeep parts. We've got Zach Zamudio. Zach owns Pyramid Optimized Design. He's an engineer, and they do a lot of product design. Brian Shepard from Rock Chalk Engineering. And Brian's been with the Curry family for 25 years in the marketing department. So Brian runs the marketing for Rock Chalk. We've got Kyle Kuhnhausen with Kuhnhausen Metal Finish. And Kyle is a master fabricator and very involved in SEMA and Battle of the Builders and that type of thing. We've got Michael Pettis is actually part of our group as well, CB7. We've got Nate Staker with Resurgence Automotive. Nate and his dad did a majority of the build for the Wagoneer that we took to SEMA a couple years ago. We've got, let's see here, Matt Zerbrick with 5 O'Clock Garage. Matt deals a lot. Matt's in Detroit, deals a lot with Stellantis, Jeep, Dodge, and moving into other brands. So lots of experience there working with the bigger companies like that. And then my brother Spencer's been with CarBuff for the past 12 years and helps with basically everything that I do. Spencer's involved with. And then we've got Tom Maddock. Tom is also a fabricator. He has a YouTube channel and actually just put steering assist, PSC steering assist on Sasquatch, our Jeep, before it went down to Arizona for Overland Expo last week. And I'm looking down the list. Dom Tucci will be on here shortly. Dom is in New York. Dom Tucci Design, and he does a lot of fabrication, 3D printing, laser. They have a laser. Just do a lot of fabrication stuff and a lot of designing. So that's our group. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about BASF. We've been working, Tina, I think, for the past 5 years or so together. Our Jeep has BASF paint. We were excited to partner with BASF on that Wagoneer. And I've been super impressed with Tina, the way that she's developed the brand ambassador program at BASF. It's more like a family there at BASF, and I know Jonathan and Michael and Eddie will speak to that, but Tina does an amazing job at really creating a good environment for brand ambassadors. And then also does a really good job of defining the brand for BASF. She wears many hats there. They have a collision side, which is I would say probably a majority of the business is collision related. And then on the custom side, where these guys are ambassadors, it's probably a totally different ballgame. And so Tina kind of balances out those two sides of the company. So I've asked Tina to talk a little bit about that, some of the initiatives that BASF has in 2024, and then also to talk about brand ambassadors and how she's working with these companies and what her focus is with brand ambassadors. So I'll turn it over to you, Tina.
Thank you, Trent. So Tina Nellis, official title is actually Marketing Communications Manager. But as you said, I wear a lot of different hats. The best way to say it is I work with an amazing group of different marketing, from product management to solutions to everything. And they create amazing products and services, and I get the fun part of taking it to the market. So whether it's working with the ambassadors, social media, trade shows, events, internal and external communication, our promotional program, a little bit about everything that has all of those different touch points. I will say you did hit, the core of our business is collision, and a lot of initiatives going around collision and generating leads and generating opportunities for our sales team. I often say it's my job to have the right content at the right place at the right time to make the sales jobs easier to convert business. That I do believe is where our brand ambassadors, and I say brand ambassadors, but I also say my friends, come into play. Because I often say, if you own a collision shop, work at a collision shop, you're a painter, a tech, an owner, it doesn't matter. 9 times out of 10, you got into that business because you love cars. And these are the people, the brand ambassadors are the ones that everybody look up to. They want to do what they're doing. They want to see what they're doing. They want to see what they're using. And so that is how the brand ambassador program, I would say, got started. Um, I've been in refinish about 9 years now. 9 years ago, it was probably very little in existence. And over the last 9 years, I've worked alongside a lot of amazing builders and really built a foundation, just like you said, a family. Built those relationships so that we could help one another. It's not about what they can do for my brand. It's about what can we do for each other. How can I help them and how can they help me? It's constantly staying in contact with them and building something that works, whether it's, hosting them at an event or putting a car in my booth, whatever it may be. It's working together with them, and then in turn them promoting my brand, and then when they're promoting my brand, I turn around and promote their brand. So it's building that foundation together. I think that sets us apart, but then I think it's also bringing everyone together, so they just creating that family. I'll be the first one to admit I'm not the technical person. I know enough to get me in trouble. But I've created that family, so it's okay for somebody to pick up the phone and call another BASF user and ask their opinion on this product or that product. And or if I don't know, I will get the person who does. So with us, like you said today on the call, are two of my ambassadors. You could say three because Michael and Eddie are two different people. They may work for the same company, but they are definitely two different people. And then also Jonathan from Goolsby Customs. But behind just the two of them, there are a lot of others that are BASF ambassadors. But I would say one of the most things is more than just being an ambassador, they're a friend.
Agree to that.
Yeah, I would say something that stuck out to me was you creating a family. So yes, I've seen it at the shows with your group. They really kind of hang out together and spend a lot of time talking about product with each other. So I think that's a really good point. Eddie, you want to talk just real quickly about your company and maybe why you guys chose to work with BASF as
Yeah,
a
for sure.
company?
Yeah. To give a brief rundown, I own Eddie's Rod and Customs, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I'm Eddie Pettis. Of course, Michael, my brother over there. We started 20 years ago this year. I always had the dream of old cars. I loved them. I mean, I grew up around cars. My dad would take me to car shows since I was 5. It was just what I lived. It was, my mom would hate going on road trips with us because my dad and I would talk about cars for hours and hours. So it was pretty much set that I was going to do something with cars. My dad was a mechanic his whole life, had an independent shop, thought that was the direction I was going to go until I got into high school, found out about Wyotech, went to Wyoming Technical Institute, graduated in Laramie in 2002 now, I think. And when I graduated, my parents decided to help me start the shop. So they sold their business of 20 years prior to that, bought some property, built a building for us, and started as my dad, Big Mike, which many of you guys know, and myself. And just the three of us started out. We were about 7,000 square feet, slowly grew over the last 20 years. We're sitting at about 10,000 square feet and about 13 employees now. Our relationship with Tina started probably in that 8-9 year mark ago, wouldn't you say, Tina?
Mm-hmm.
And we were having nothing but problems with paint. I loved our current reps. They were great people, but every week we'd have a problem. They'd come up with a new excuse in our shop, our atmosphere, our air. It's costing us thousands and thousands of dollars just trying to straighten out what's going on in the shop. Started figuring I need to do something different. So this is coming into where brand ambassador probably hits an effect. I started saying, okay, what's Chip Booth use? What are the big names in the industry use? What does Jonathan use? What do these people use? So I started researching what these people used and said, okay, called up my rep and I said, I want BASF. They're like, well, we don't have it around you. I'm like, I want it. And so they were trying to sign me with another company and I was about 3 days away from it. And I don't know if I had met you yet, Tina, or not, but I pushed one more time to get a rep to come to us. And after that day, I signed with BASF, and it's probably been the best thing since. We have not had air quality issues, paint by tooth issues, or any of those things. And with the family that Tina's created, it's been awesome because not only can I reach out to Tina, not only can I reach out to White House, the training facility, but I can reach out to other shops that are actually using it. And I know Jonathan and I have talked in the past, and I've talked to quite a few different painters in the past. And I'll randomly get a phone call from a shop that I haven't talked to in years. They'll say, "Hey, what are you doing here? What's happening there?" And it's been a pretty awesome situation.
Thanks, Eddie. So I want to just ask Jonathan a question. So you work with a lot of you spend a lot of time focusing on young people, trying to help young people get involved in the industry. How do you, from a manufacturer's perspective, what can manufacturers do to engage young people in the industry? I could hear you for a split second.
So it makes it any better. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Okay. My jacked up phone and computer apparently today. So for the industry to get involved with a younger crowd, to me, I tell the younger crowd the same thing as if they just reach out to them, give them a chance. You know, you never know what they can produce. Some of them are going to be really talented guys, and some, you know, we're just work in progress. But you don't know unless you give them that chance. But working with them and showing them the routes, and if anything, introducing them to like Eddie or me or any of the other people that already went through the headaches of stuff, and that way we can kind of tell them the do's and don'ts and the stuff that we found out works and doesn't work. And I think a lot of it's just getting all of us together to try to brainstorm to bring that next generation of people up into this industry.
So I think with that, we'll turn the time over to anybody on CV7 that wants to start us out with a question.
Everybody at once.
Okay, I'll go. What is a company the size of BASF? I'm sure you're dramatically larger than most of us are. What do you find is your most effective outlets for media, social media, the like, or events, or what have you?
It's a really good question. And I think what I say may be completely different than what somebody else from BASF says. So BASF as a whole, you may know it as we create chemistry for a sustainable future, or you may know it as we don't make the products you use, we make the products you use better. So within BASF, there's 7 different divisions, and you'd probably get 7 different 7 major divisions and even subdivisions under there. But within BASF automotive refinish, I would say some of our strongest are social media and being out there at different events and connecting with people. I think connection is still one of the strongest opportunities you can have. But you also have to have that media size of things so that you're reaching larger groups of people at the same time. When I first, it's funny, when I first came in, we did a lot of print advertisement. I would say my print advertisement is down to just about nothing because it doesn't bring the awareness that your social and your digital advertising can bring.
That's good. I feel like I'm on the same page then. We're just smaller.
Yeah.
I got a kind of vague question, but for Jonathan or Eddie or Tina, paint wise, where do you see like some trends going in the next 5-10 years?
I think all three of us could answer that from very different perspectives. I'll let Eddie or Michael or Jonathan go first. I can go last.
Trent hit that a little before you hopped on there. We painted that Corvette that flat green gold color that was kind of odd out of there, but we were talking about, Trent was asking whether everything was going to the flat or not. I still have a big mix between my customers, but I do see a stronger side on being a little more unique. That Corvette we built, you either love it or hate it. I have people all the time tell me how much they hate that car. It's the worst car we've done, or it's the best thing we've ever done. And I think the trend of doing things to stand out a little bit is what people want, because they're tired of going to the show and seeing the same black car. I love black cars. I would paint every car I own black, but everyone tells me to don't paint a car black ever again. So I think the flat, I think, will stay around for a while, but I think unique colors, odd colors that stand out a little bit, the love them or hate them colors, I think are gonna stay around for a while.
I agree with the love and hate colors. I believe that's going to determine on the shop too, and their style that they have. Towards brand and product wise, I think water eventually will possibly take over a lot, just for the fact that I know. So for the hot rod world, paint is trying to push the limit, or we are trying to push the limits of paint. They're going to base everything off collision, because I get that. So we push the limits, and then they're going to push water more because how much faster it is. I've played with a little bit of the 100 line, and it is mind blowing for me. The fact that how it works and how much faster it is, and it makes sense. So I think water is probably going to be your bigger deal that's going to come on board, and we'll all have to adapt to it. I mean, it's just because time is important, and water's a lot faster than some of the solvent stuff.
When we switched to BASF those years ago, we made the switch to water. Now we're 90, we're not 100, but that was one of the best switches we made. We really enjoyed it. We were nervous about it. We thought there'd be a lot of problems and issues with it, but like Jonathan says, I really think it's kind of the answer.
So it's funny Jonathan touched on water, because not only is water the speed, but waterborne in the depth of color, in the trend of actually all of your metallics and your depths and your flips and your flops are the pigments in the water have quite a bit more depth to them. And you'll also see them trending that way a lot more from a collision aspect, or an OEM manufacturer. Everyday vehicles are getting more tri-coats. So you're seeing a lot more of the tri-coats and even quad coats. Which everybody wants to stay away from those.
Yes.
But then I would say on the, at the OEM, at the everyday level, your black, your white, your grays, and your reds are still your most popular.
Yeah.
I was bidding on some concepts today for one of the OEMs. There are some loud colors on the way. I can tell you that much.
A lot of tri and quad coats. That was a good question.
Yeah.
Zach, you're muted.
Am I muted now?
Nope,
Oh,
you're good.
you're good.
I have a question for Tina. I don't know if you heard that, but BASF, I mean, I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, that majority of your business is collision or OEM type stuff, and the aftermarket is the smallest segment of business. Am I right in assuming that?
Yeah, that's correct.
So it seems like you guys do support our category pretty intently. And I'm wondering, like, what keeps you supporting our hobby? Is it a great marketing vehicle for you? Is it R&D for you guys? Is it, like, for us to know, like, because it's really important for us to have backing from such companies like yourself, like, because it it solidifies our industry, and provides support that we wouldn't otherwise get, obviously. But what is the actual benefit for you guys to support the aftermarket community?
So I think one of the biggest benefits is brand awareness. So, take a look at, yes, like I said, collision is the core, but take a look at a collision industry's social media. You're not seeing the paint brand, you're not seeing the manufacturers they're using. They're adapting to their community. So they're going after their community needs and their community commitment and different things of that nature. Brand awareness and your brand, people being aware of your brand, is the utmost of importance at the collision level and at the aftermarket level. If somebody doesn't know your brand, they're not going to have the confidence to buy your brand. So that is where I think together we build the awareness in the brand. Not only do you guys build the awareness in my brand, but then I have the opportunity to promote your brand and recognize you. So at a corporate level, that's where the benefit comes from. At a personal level, what I will say is that this is where, like I said in the very beginning, if you're into collision, 90% of the time you're into collision because you love cars. And this is where you most likely aspire to be. You may, or growing a network of collision centers. And so it creates that connection, but I also think this is the foundation of that next generation, because that next generation does need, like Jonathan, does need to come in, and then we're creating that awareness for them as well, as this is a very ample opportunity for a career. And then at another personal level, it's the favorite part of my business, of what I do. And I think if they know me, they know that.
Yeah. It's like work and fun at the same time.
Yep.
But I mean, ultimately, like when Jonathan or Eddie have a car, it's going to go in 5 different magazines and at 18 different shows, and BASF's plastered all over the place. So, I mean, ultimately, I would think BASF's in it from the marketing side, right?
Mm-hmm. The awareness.
Yeah.
So Tina, how do you decide if you want to work with a company as a brand ambassador, whether it's a shop or maybe an influencer, the way the industry would identify an influencer, someone with maybe a social media presence, but maybe they don't have a shop. Do you ever work with someone that doesn't have a shop, or is that a main focus for you?
We have not yet worked really with influencers that don't have shops. We've dabbled in it in what I call, or what we're calling, a consumer education side of things. And the consumer education is more on the collision side of things. So, like today, if you wreck your vehicle, get in a fender bender, and you have to get it repaired, most people think that you have to take your vehicle to the 2 to 4 recommended shops from your insurance agency, when in fact you ultimately have the decision of where your vehicle gets repaired. So yes, we're looking into influencers at that level on a consumer education, but that's something a little different that we're just working into and just starting to kind of evaluate. But on the aftermarket side of things, what I look for is I look for somebody who has a reputable business. They're building, they're doing good things. They could be up and coming. Not a lot of people know them. Their social media channel doesn't have to have a huge following. It's not always about the following as much as it is about reach and engagement, because you can get just as much reach or engagement as somebody who has a following that's 10 times bigger, but they're active on their social media channels. They're recognizing the people that they work with. And then it's really from there, it's about starting to build that relationship and that foundation of how can we help one another.
So do you put a number, like a limit on who you would identify as a brand ambassador, or okay?
No, the more brand ambassadors I have, the stronger reach and presence I have out in digital and media. And then, the stronger the brand continues to become. A brand ambassador is not all about free product.
No.
That's not what it's about. It's about working together to help one another. So
It's like a big support avenue.
Yeah, for sure. And certain cars that we build are criteria for Tina, and certain cars that we do aren't. I mean, so even when you work together with the company and things get good, Tina expects something out of us too if she helps us. So, if we're not going to show the car, if it's not going to be in magazines, it's not going to be anywhere that it's not benefiting BASF, and to give us something or to help us or discount us at that point. So just the knowledge and everything like that is equally as good for us in certain situations.
Yeah.
I have a question for Tina. How do you find brand ambassadors, especially good ones? Do they reach out to you? Do you find them at events? Like, what's your process for that?
It's changed and adapted over the years. So if I go back, like I said, I've been in refinish for almost 10 years now. When I first started, it was me connecting with a lot of people. There's a few people who helped me make a lot of key connections in the industry, introducing me to people and just, building my own reputation in the industry. I would say over the last several years, it started to flip, where, I'm still out there making connections. I'm still building those relationships, but over the last couple of years, it's begun to flip a little more where people are coming to me and wanting to understand more of the program and how can we work together. And I think, that is a lot because it has a solid reputation now. Is it perfect? No. Can it be better? Always. But it is starting to flip now.
So I have a question for Brian.
Mm.
What's the process for Rock Chalk? You're in pretty much a completely different market than BASF in the off-road world. I mean, it's not as focused on paint as much as it is on performance. What do you guys have a process at Rock Chalk to identify potential partners or brand ambassadors?
Yeah, we've always, from being at Curry and then carrying over to Rock Chalk, we've always kind of had a vetting process. I always kind of jokingly say, and with some of the people that are requesters of us, that we get 12 of these requests a day. It's I could give free stuff away the entire 8 hours I sit at my desk if I wanted to. So we definitely have a vetting process that is based on social media numbers, and we have a team of people, myself and two of my coworkers, that kind of dig into different facets. We have a form that if it's someone that we are interested in, we have a formal form that we send out, like, here, fill out all of this information so we can do our homework on it. If they don't want to do that, that's fine. You don't have to, but if you want to be considered, send us this form. We're going to go digging into all of your social media. We're going to go, see who we have in common. We may reach out to some of those people like, hey, is this somebody that's stable? Is this somebody that's, promoting inappropriate links or what have you, once a month or once a week, whatever, because we're a very clean organization here. We stay away from all those types of people. So, but and then, we found that, the vetting process is all one thing. We'll bring people on board, we kind of bring them on board at a certain level, and then we'll tell them, hey, it says in, the letter that we presented you with that all of our support of you is a sliding scale, completely based off of your participation on what was expected of you in the letter that you signed, basically. So we're gonna, hey, we're gonna start you out here as far as a discount, what have you. And going on from there, hey, if next time you need something, we're going to go back and research you again, say, oh yeah, on every post the guy tagged us, whatever, he has our logo on his sign at the show, that kind of thing. Yeah, this guy's on board, or he's not. And we're going to say, hey man, you didn't do anything. We gotta have hard numbers here to show the people that whose money we're giving away, what you did for us, kind of thing. So, and then, another whole half of this is the policing of all these people is as much work as the vetting of these people. The policing of, all of these people fighting behind the scenes, and we've had to, clip off entire branches of trees of people of ambassadors before, like, just, sorry to tell you you're guilty by association, but all 50 of you are out of here. We're done with all of you. We're starting over, and it's just stuff you have to do, to keep the image that we want to portray, the people we want to be viewed as part of our team, have to keep a certain, clean appearance, have to be, a certain kind of person going forward, or that's just not what the owners here, the vision they're trying to put out there as far as the, what the vision of our company is publicly. And Eddie, something you said I was going to touch on, same thing with us. We have a lot of people that we have voluntarily gone to as far as shops and volunteered them product at no charge. Hey, any car you're building that goes to a show, what have you, going to magazines, you can have anything and everything we make at no charge for those builds. But we always tell them, please use your discretion as to, hey, if this is a customer car that came in, you're just doing some repair work on, yeah, please use your discretion and not use the free parts for a customer car, just use obviously your WD discount you're getting from us on those products, and just please respect that, that relationship. And we've never had a problem, but yeah, it's a lot of incoming vetting and a lot of, policing, afterwards, that we're constantly going in circles. Anyway, we have everybody in the place. We kind of have an agreement where, hey, if you, in-house is kind of, if you see something, say something, if it's one of our people, we're involved in, you see them post something inappropriate or see them to a show being inappropriate or whatever, hey, that's, we can't have that. That's it. We got to have a talk with the guy and let him go, whatever. So we had a pretty big network. Rock Chalk itself's been a company about 4.5 years now, and initially we took on a huge amount of influencers and that kind of thing. It seems like that whole wave of that was a lot bigger a few years ago too. It seems like that's kind of quieted down quite a bit, which is completely welcomed here. But we had basically we formally announced to all those people we were ending that program entirely because there was just too much strife behind the scenes among all those people trying to cut each other's, stab each other in the back. And I was like, we don't want, we're a manufacturer. We have work to do. We can't be dealing with you people. It's not what we get paid for. So we basically cut the entire program and just started over a new program where we just refer to them as, hey, we call it our friendly program. That's what our forum says on it. Hey, you want to be kind of friendly in our little buddy group, that kind of thing. We'll allow you into our group, but that, that don't ever say you're sponsored by us. Don't ever say, that's off the table. You got all y'all ruined that for yourselves. We had nothing to do with that. We're a manufacturer, so we kind of worded it in such a way that, hey, it's like, it's us bringing you into our family now. And that's the thing, we keep this a real tight knit group, that kind of thing. So, and it's gone well for us all the same. We just, we're not as broad with it because it's, again, as everybody knows, that can go as far as you want it to go. You can have, 1,000 guys a week, so.
Yeah, so I want to talk for a few minutes about CarBuff. Tina, we've been working together for 5 years or so, like I mentioned earlier. And one of the things that I want to bring up on this call is how we've worked together going into car events and trying to identify vehicles that have BASF paint, and Brian, in your case, vehicles that have Rock Chalk products. Mm-hmm. And so one of the companies is yours, Jonathan, that Tina and I have kind of collaborated on through the years. I want to do a screen share and just show one of the builds that you've done, put on the system recently. And I just want to show how CarBuff kind of integrates in with the companies like BASF. So I'm going to go to BASF's website and show the news feed, Tina, that you have on your site. Can you all see my screen here?
Yes.
Okay, so this is something that we started a few years ago. This is a news feed that is on the homepage of BASF Refinish, the Refinish side. And whenever a vehicle tags BASF, it goes into this news feed. And so this is a Camaro that Jonathan recently posted. And so the way that the vehicle profile is laid out here is you've got the image of the vehicle, and typically we'll go through and show the build process so people can see how the car is put together, see the products, but also if somebody's looking for a shop to do the work, it's a great way for the shops to show the build process there. And then down below that is the tech sheet. And this is what ties everything together on CarBuff Network. So when Jonathan puts a vehicle profile together, you tag all the companies involved in the build, and this hyperlinks is all hyperlinked to the companies on CarBuff Network. But it also sends a link, an email with a link out to the manufacturers to let the manufacturers know when there's a vehicle with your product. And then it also, in the case of BASF, it goes automatically into BASF's website to give them content, to keep content up to date for BASF. And so, Jonathan, I'm wondering if you would just take a minute and talk about CarBuff and how you work with CarBuff Network.
Me and you've been working for many years together on this, and to me, the CarBuff is a super informational avenue to anything car related. Quick, easy way of doing it. Quick headlines on the car. You don't overwhelm every single picture on there, so it doesn't you don't get lost in it. It gets kind of to the point. Then, like you said, to the avenue of all the companies you can tag in it, how it's broke down to where if you wanted to get just one, say just the paint or just the interior or what you have on engine, it breaks it down enough quickly to where you can go to that. You can click the brands that you used, and it sends you to them also. So for just hot rod or muscle car or whatever related car, it's the perfect avenue for you to check out everybody's work and quickly get to the links of the other companies that help make all this happen.
Yep. So that's our goal, is to make it easier for people to find what they're looking for. And one of the things that we started doing working with manufacturers is having a way to have accountability when we're talking about brand ambassadors, when there's product either discounted or maybe it's given out, whichever. It's a way to have some accountability for the product and to be able to get exposure, make sure you're getting exposure for the product when you decide that you want to work with a vehicle. It's a great way to have some accountability to the product going out, make sure that you know what's happening with the product. So I just wanted to talk about that really quickly, because that is, as we're having discussions with manufacturers and trying to create some structure and it kind of a baseline for expectation, it's an easy way to do that because there's no cost for the vehicles to be profiled on the system, but it gives the manufacturers a way to show what they're involved with. And so it's helpful for everybody. But on the ambassador side, and I know Kyle uses it this way, when he's talking with potentially a new partner, Kyle will send a link out, and it's got all of the content in one place. And so it just makes it easy for him to share what he's about, and it makes it easier for the manufacturers to see what Kuhnhausen Metal Concepts is all about in one place.
If I could elaborate on that for just a second, Trent, I've had some pretty good feedback on doing that. It's, when I'm reaching out to a company, I've got basically my resume, which is, here's 7 heads of companies I currently work with that will vouch for me, give them a call. Here's my CarBuff Network, hyperlink. And that's basically all you need is, hey, there's the people aspect. You can figure out if I'm a straight shooter or not. If you want social media analytics, whatever, we, throw a little section on there. But all they really need to know is, hey, is this a good person? And then B, what are they doing? And the what are they doing is basically all over CarBuff. It's, you got all your builds, you've got your shop bio. I like it because I can put all my media stuff that, past and current in one place, and they can decide how much info they want to go after instead of overloading that with, here's, 2 WeTransfers with 1,000 photos and all this stuff. It's just super streamlined, and it makes it super easy, not only on me, but also on, who's looking over this, because you've got 2 seconds to kind of capture their attention. Or if it's like a cold call thing, which are getting rarer and rarer, but it's just such a great tool for me. And it has worked wonders in the past, and it's formed lots of good relationships that are still going steady. So it's just a huge tool for a builder from the builder side.
For us, I know Trent, I was showing you a week or so ago, where we're at here at Rock Chalk, we, John Curry here specializes in Jeep suspension, steering components, all types of undercar equipment for Jeeps. But my sales department here is constantly getting calls from people like, here, I got this brand new Jeep. It was $70,000. If I put your kit on it, with your lift, and I want to put 37-inch tires on it, what's it going to look like? It's like, well, how do you explain that to someone over the phone? Or, hey, I want to put, yours has 40s on it. What's it look like with 40-inch tall tires on it? So what I was showing Trent that I, one of the ways I used CarBuff was after I populated my account and with all my vehicles, then I went back to the pages on my website where a client's looking at a lift kit. Here is a lift kit for your brand new Jeep. At the bottom of it, it says here, see this kit installed on your vehicle with 37-inch tires. See this kit installed on your vehicle with 40-inch tires, and they link directly to the vehicle builds on CarBuff so that they can see what these products on this vehicle look like with this size of tire finished. There's a finished car like this. There's a finished car like this, so they can link directly from my product to go see what a completed car looks like. And that's been very well received as just one more usage of the CarBuff product.
I have a question for Eddie and Jonathan. Jonathan and I were talking about this not too long ago. I was at his shop, but I want to elaborate and get both of your perspectives on this. As far as builds go, you guys have built big enough shops to acquire some of the kind of wealthiest clients that you could hope for. Do you notice that the momentum on high-end builds is continuing? Or do you notice that people are trying to sort of like scale back builds and have them be a little bit more, I don't want to say affordable, let's just say tamed down or something like that? What is your take on that? Either one of you, or both of you, or Michael as well.
Jonathan, you want to go first? You want me to go for it?
That's fine. I think I don't think it's dying off either way. I think you just have your certain clientele of customers that want the high end stuff, and that keeps trending up and up because everybody wants to be bigger and bigger and outdo the next person. But then drivability to me has gotten to be a big deal, and I think that has with everybody, whether it's high end or patina or just kind of a restoration with modern motors. So I really think hasn't changed that much. I think it's more just what the customer wants, kind of what they want to spend and what they're going to do with the car, you know, because if they're going to just drive it like a road tour car, you know, you're not going to go stupid crazy on certain angles. And then, you know, high end show car stuff, you know, you're going to spend the money. So I really think it's just based on customer preference and what the outcome of the car is going to be.
End result kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in our shop, we're a little more unique. Jonathan's a little more well-rounded than we are. Over the last few years, I really regrouped our shop just strictly to high-end cars. I don't want the mass production. I don't want the size. I can't get the employees around my area. So we're keeping the size we are, but really focusing in on. And I think what that's done for us is brought us those customers.
Mhm.
You know, I still get the day-to-day customers, and I've actually have 3 hot rod shops in my town that I've funded probably 4 years worth of work because of my name comes to me, and we've regrouped to that whole thing, and I funnel that work out to these 3 or 4 hot rod shops all locally into town, so they get all the transmission swaps and engine swaps and the stuff that's probably more lucrative than what we do. But my group of guys have all become really artists, and they get really nitpicky on not getting to build things the way they have. And so we've been blessed enough to stay that way, and I haven't seen it drop yet. So I'm hoping that it doesn't,
Yeah.
you know, but as of right now, it seems like 10 years ago, it was hard to get someone to build a $250,000 car. And now we're not building
Mhm.
cars under 500,000. So,
Yeah.
you know, it almost seems like it's easier to get someone to spend more on a car now. But that could just be time too, you know, after
Yeah.
20 years of business, you start to get that too. So,
Mhm. That's good news. I mean, that's awesome.
you know,
It's funny because, you know, I was just down in the South and visiting a bunch of people, and this the car craziness is so alive and well. Like, I'm on the West Coast, and even in California and all these places where hot rodding was born, it's like it's like it's not as much of a priority as it once was, I feel like, out here. So that's why I ask, because the people I work with, it all seems fine. But in my actual areas, I don't see the car. A lot of the old guys are starting to kind of scale back, and you know, but they're all getting old too, you know, like a lot of these
yeah.
guys are 80, 90 years
Yeah.
old, you know, so it's just, so I was just curious. Thank you for the response.
Yeah, no, for sure. And
Yeah.
honestly, up until the last 5 or 6 years, most of my customers were all in their 60s, 70s, up in the older clientele. But right now, I'm working with 3 different customers that are all probably 2 to 3 years older than me, in their mid 40s and stuff like that. So I do see some of the younger generation dumping the money in. It is a little different, and stems back to one of the questions I got earlier asked about the trend of colors and things like that. Hence the reason things are probably going a
Yeah.
little wilder and being willing to jump out of the box a little bit because it's a younger generation.
Well, they're not limited by the rules, you know,
Yeah.
like the old guys lived the rules, right? Like through all the generations. I mean, like patina, you talk to the old timers, patina cars were like blasphemous, you know, back in the day. Like you wouldn't even consider that as a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was funny.
For us, from a manufacturer standpoint, you know, John Curry turns 67 this year, and you know, I've worked for him for 25 years, and he's always told me, he's like, look, he's like, every part I build at this company with my name on it is going to be absolutely as top shelf as it can possibly be. That's what I do. That's what I'm known for. And you know, and we very commonly tell people often on the phone or at shows, you know, every single part you can buy from me, you can find 140% cheaper. Here, here's, like you said, here's 3 business cards, man. There's a guy down the street. He's a great guy. We've known him for years. He's got one. It's half the price. Go for it. You know, it's just, but it's one of those things where we have, you know, John Curry's reputation, you know, in our industry is just, you know, legendary at this point. And he only builds high end, you know, and there's always a customer for that. And I've learned so many things working for this kind of an organization for so long, you know, that, you know, I tell people in discussions, you know, don't ever be afraid or shy away from high end. You know, there's always a customer for that. You know, there's going to be, you know, maybe you'll have 3 customers and you're going to make the same amount of money. You know what I mean? Instead of having 15 customers to make that same amount of money. So, you know, never shy away from being the high end option or making the nice product, because there's always going to be a customer for it. And, you know, these days, you know, guys will call. I had a guy, I remember when we first came out with lift kits for the new Jeep Gladiator trucks, the guy called and he's like, somebody told me to call you about your lift kit. And it's like, I see your lift kit's $4,600. He's like, I was looking at one over here for $850. And I said, man, how much should you just pay for that truck? He's like, oh, $72,000. I got the whole thing. I'm like, you gonna put an $800 lift kit on a $70,000 truck? And he's like, all right, just take my credit card. But you know, it's one of those things. It's like, if they can afford a $70,000 truck, you're gonna put $800 lift kit on it. Come on, you know. But you know, they know, and they know what they're calling. They're gonna harass us a little bit about the price. But you know, the guys that are spending that and I think you were saying as things have evolved, you know, in you know, the specifically rock jocks market with, you know, the Jeeps are, you know, 60, 70, the 392s are $90,000 now. That, like, you know, we have noticed over the last, you know, the evolution over the last 5 to 10 years that the guy that can afford a $70,000 or $90,000 Jeep, it's not that he's not going to work on it. He generally doesn't even own tools. You know, it's like my guy told me to call you and order these 3 numbers. Yeah, okay. Can you ship those to my guy? Yeah, you're good. But you know, it's just there's always that customer, always, and I just, we never shy away from, you know, having a nice product. And we focused our last couple years here specifically on drivability products. You know, going back to our staple products we made for, you know, 30 years and improving aesthetics on it, and just going back and you know, if there's something we can do to add another component to a kit or to a system, or take these 2 parts and add a part in the middle that makes them now a system. And hey, here's this whole box of all this stuff, you know, we've gone back to forging a lot of stuff because you get a lot more factory feel in the drivability and that kind of thing. So it's investment on our part. And then the finished product, again, is twice as much as the next competitive part. But, you know, the guy that's in the scene and knows what, you know, and has driven it, and it's like, man, I'm chasing this thing in my car. I can't get this, whatever, driving characteristic out of it, and telling it, you're not going to like this, but I promise this $400 part will fix it. You know, so, but it's just holding your ground, and not, you know, and being high end and being proud to be high end, and just, you know, studying your own course.
Well, and back to Zach's question, I think there's a lot to be said with, like, your average cars you go buy on the lot nowadays. They're easy, you know, you can buy $100,000 new Corvette. Or do you want that when there's hundreds of them out there? Or do you want to spend $250 and get something exactly the way you want it? You know, so I think the market's there for this stuff, but I mean, cars off the lot these days are getting pretty expensive in themselves.
Yes, so they are.
Well, and you look at, I have a customer that he had been trying to get a Porsche 911, just a standard 911. It was about a year ago now. Things probably calmed down a little bit. He had to pay $45,000 over MSRP for a 911, and he barely got a dealership to even sell it to him at that. So, you know, when you're buying a $150,000 to $200,000 car and paying $40,000 over, what's the deal to go build a $250,000 to $300,000 car nowadays? Then,
Porsche market's hot right now. It still is.
Yeah, it is. Well, shit, they wanted $15,000 for my new Denali truck last year over MSRP, and it's a dang truck. You know? So.
Well, I think it just goes to show that people will pay for what they want. And in our industry, you guys are building what people want to have, not necessarily what they need to have. And it'll continue to be that way. People our age are starting to do that. So I think, just to wrap it up, just a few points, as you guys were talking. Tina's focus when she's identifying someone that wants to potentially represent the brand is, it's not necessarily about you or me. It's about what can we do for each other when you're looking for relationships to build. And then do these people that you're bringing in, are they going to be able to associate with others that are already part of the family in your case, or part of the group? You know, will they be able to work together? Because it really does become a relationship, you know, a bigger relationship than just BASF and one individual shop. So something that I've noticed since we've been building CarBuff, and we've been hit a few times where, you know, we could have gone down, and I talked to many companies that have similar experiences where, you know, something comes along that could potentially just take you out as a business. And that's happened to us 3 times. And so what we've realized is that in this industry, at the end of the day, all we really have is the relationships and our reputation. And when somebody is approaching a manufacturer about, hey, I want to work with you, to Kyle's point, being able to say, hey, these are the companies that I work with, these are the relationships that I have, and it's not just I'm working with this company for 1 year. I think, Jonathan, you said you've been working with BASF with Tina for what, maybe 8 or 9 years?
Yeah, probably a little bit more than that, probably. Yeah.
You were with BASF before me.
Yeah, and it all boiled down to was the relationship part of it. I had, you know, Ray McCutcheon's come by, and he'd always check on me, even though I was using another brand. But, you know, I just seen he always was there for me no matter what. And then finally we made the switch, and it was all because of that, you know, the people you have behind you.
Yep. And that really is the bottom line. When we're trying to build relationships, the people we are trying to build relationships with want to know, what kind of relationships do we already have? Who are we already associated with? And that's I think the key is our associations in the industry, who we're working with, and who endorses us as a brand. And that goes a long ways. And so boiling it down to the relationships being the major factor, and that really helps build our reputation. So thanks everybody for your time. We really appreciate you taking the time today, and we will talk to you down the road. Have a good day. Thanks so much.
Thank you for everything.
Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Thanks for having me.
See ya.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye.